Welcome back to the Pleb Underground. I've got an awesome interview. I am joined by Bitcoiner and dev Austin from PlebDevs. He's going to give us the lowdown, what's going on at PlebDevs. As well, he's also working on a very interesting project called FROSTR, which apparently is trying to solve one of the biggest issues on NOSTR. Anyways, let's dive right into this chat. Here we go. All right, everyone. I am joined by Austin from PlebDevs, and I obviously, Austin, we had the pleasure of meeting in real life, and it's absolutely cool to have you on Pleb Underground, man. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
It's a pleasure. It's great to reconnect. It was awesome to meet in Austin at Bitcoin Plus Plus. Are you coming this year? Are you coming this summer?
Not 100% sure. Not 100% sure. Last year it was kind of like a last minute thing for me, close to last minute, and this year it might be also. I probably should go because those conferences are really I've said this in the past. Those conferences are just the best. You actually get proper exposure to what used to be termed Bitcoin signal. So which now today, as I was saying before the show, it's all just a bunch of NGU nonsense. But you actually get a real feel for the people developing in and around the space and what's actually going on, right? Because if you listen to a lot of the noise, all you end up hearing is that Bitcoin's dead, nothing's happening on Bitcoin, and that's just not the truth. So when you actually go to these conferences, you're really exposed to people like you, right, that are actually building and trying things, and it's like, wow, that there is something really going on there. So that's really cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, I won't judge you or anyone for not making a given conference. Obviously, there's a ton, but I say to everyone that there's two conferences every year that I will not miss and that I will pay for out of my pocket in a second. And one of them is Bitcoin Plus Plus, and the other one is TabConf. And it's exactly for the reasons like you're saying. I mean, I am a builder in the space, a developer, so I want to interact and meet with all the other developers. That's where I learn, where I level up. But just in general, I mean, the availability, the opportunity is there for anyone, and it's the opportunity to get at the cutting edge of what's happening in Bitcoin, Lightning, NOSTR. You can literally be about 6 months ahead of everyone else just by going to these conferences and having some of these conversations with people. And that's really been my sense. So yeah, it's something I look forward to every year, but it's just a conference. It's the day-to-day work that where real stuff happens, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But again, right, it's nice to have that exposure, and for somebody who's not coding, right, it gives you a glimpse into into those conversations, right? And I think that's pretty interesting. And so PlebDevs, why? Let's start with the history, because so my first exposure, just to give some people some context, my first exposure was being brought there during BTC++ to go and move to go move a bunch of stock from I believe you guys have an office is it the Commons?
Yeah, so let's do
this
is a good point here.
I'll stop screwing up.
No, it's okay. Literally everyone does this, and I think it's a naming thing. It's funny, and I don't know if it's the Austin Bitcoin scene or something. We just have all of these names and acronyms that are so easy to mix up. So we've got PlebDevs is my kind of brand that I started out of Pleb Lab, which is the hackerspace in Austin. Yes,
that's
so
where I
working
was.
in a Pleb Lab. So Pleb Lab is this space. We've got a lot of builders and different companies here, Cascader and Jippy. Carr is the leader of Pleb Lab. And then I am just a member. And PlebDevs is for, well, the plebs that want to become devs. And really, that's kind of the origin story of PlebDevs as well. Because before I was a dev, I was a Bitcoin pleb. I still am a Bitcoin pleb, but
but
now
you're
I'm a Bitcoin pleb dev. Yeah, exactly. So it's like slightly plebier. And yeah. So that's the difference. And yes, we are out of Bitcoin Park, Austin now, formerly the Commons. So Bitcoin Park has moved in, is help running the space now. Everyone's still here. and things are actually more bullish than ever. And so, yeah, Pleb Lab, we have a small office out of here. So we're just right in the middle of Bitcoin, just seeing everything happening day to day. But it was not like this. It was not like this always. You know, for me, PlebDevs started from my own journey, where I don't know what Bitcoin class or era you were from, but I was from the era of 2017, kind of the late 2017. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, same one. Same one. All
So
right. So
we're getting a
interesting.
little older. Yeah. It
We're
feels so
boring now. We're not
recent.
part of the MSTR bros, you know?
Yeah, I know. I keep on like having this like 3-year number in my head, like, oh yeah, I've been in Bitcoin for 3 years. And it's like, wait, no, it's like 4 or 5, 6. You know, they're
Seven.
stacking up there. But you know, era of 2017, and I was just a, you know, I was a high school dropout that played in hardcore and punk bands in Oklahoma City. Uh, why did I get into
Sweet.
Bitcoin? Yeah, I don't. It was pretty random, but you know, I was just working fast food jobs in Oklahoma City, looking for opportunities of like, what am I going to do with my life? How am I going to make money? How am I going to do these things? And I started hearing the word Bitcoin, searched for Bitcoin on YouTube, and I found Andreas Antonopoulos. Thank goodness I found him, because there's a lot of other garbage I could have found. And his early talks
Yes.
about Bitcoin were very, very good, where there was lots of YouTube videos at the time about um, cloud mining, make money with doing Bitcoin cloud mining, or obviously the ICO craze, right, where everyone was trying to distract you from Bitcoin. But Andreas planted an important seed in my mind of Bitcoin is number one. It can't be copied. And I didn't really understand things at the time, but I held on to that as kind of, you know, left side of the bell curve, like, okay, I'm just gonna hold on to this. And the Bitcoin Cash fork was happening at the time. It was very confusing, very confusing. But luckily I just made it through, just very simply just sticking with Bitcoin, trying to focus on Bitcoin, but at the same time getting distracted on the side, getting distracted with shit coins. And I tried to start a YouTube channel. I tried to start blogging. I tried to do all of these different things to basically break into the space. And eventually I kind of hit a bottom around when Bitcoin was hitting its bottom in mid 2018. And I said to myself, like, I need to change. I need to find something where I can really add value to the space. And that's sort of what started my coding journey. Um, and from there, it was a long many years to get to the place where I felt like I could work on Bitcoin apps. But on the other side of that, that's where I wanted to turn back around and help those people that are similar to me. Because the whole time it's like, you know, if I'm going through this journey, who else is going through this journey? Um, there must be other people just like me. And so that's kind of been the core thesis of PlebDevs, is that there's tens of thousands of of devs there, sorry, plebs that are in Bitcoin, they're passionate about Bitcoin, but a lot of them are on the sidelines. And I want to help kind of show you a pathway where you can go from the sidelines to getting involved, and hopefully making it as easy and approachable as possible in this world of Bitcoin where everything seems so complex and difficult. So that's, I guess, kind of a long story short of how PlebDev started.
I have to say, for me, listening to this, it's very bittersweet, and I will say why.
Hmm.
Because I am genuinely one of those plebs who wanted to be a dev. And
Yeah.
had I had found something like what you're doing, because I came to Bitcoin at the same time approximately. I started using it as medium of exchange in like 2015, but I didn't get it. Like it was, yeah, it's like PayPal. It was like PayPal on the internet only, right? Like for me, like I just didn't get it. I was using it and it was fantastic, and it didn't click. And then of course, right, like you went through that cycle, and then of course, like totally bottomed out when like I had bought a whole bunch of shit coins, got totally wrecked and everything, and then that cycle finished, and it's like 2018, and I'm like, why did I come here? I'm like, why was this so important to me? So to the same point as you, but so the whole thing that I'm explaining is that I just really wish that I would have came to Bitcoin now after you so that I could have found PlebDevs. Because so my path was because I really, so my background is network administration. and network troubleshooting, low voltage electronics. So I know how to wire readers, specialty relay boards, inputs and outputs, stuff like that, like microcontrollers as well. And so like I'm like a generalist, right? I just know how to do a bunch of stuff, but I am not a specialist in any way. So I got into in my eyes, the only way I was able to get into it was through Lightning. Because to me that was at like a high enough level that I could grasp and I can build on this, right? Somebody already built out the base layer. I can work on top of it. So I started doing like the little Lightning gumball machine and stuff like that, making relays trip off of Lightning transactions, lights turning on, blinking, stuff like fun stuff, right? Like, and then I just kind of gave up. And essentially was just like, well, I still want to contribute to Bitcoin. And this whole time I had been doing a podcast. I had been interviewing Bitcoiners in the space, and this was kind of my way of staying interested. This was before I was on Simply Bitcoin with Nico, and of course, I ended up going long story long, I ended up going the path of the content creator. I did not go the path of the dev. I still like to mess around with microcontrollers and stuff like that, and I'm always kind of looking for something new to mess around with, but I just ended up losing it, and I'm so disappointed. So to finish it off, I'm just super happy to see that like you stuck with it. You stuck with your plan. You built it out. Here we are having this conversation. You've got PlebDevs, and I actually wanted to show. Hold on here. Let me add this to the stage so we could see it. This is like a little video that you guys made here.
So
you guys
this is
revamped
just
the
like
site.
Yeah, so you can go, this is live, as you can see at the top, at plebdevs.com. So, it's a pretty nice looking kind of course content website. Most of the stuff on there is free, but what's really amazing is that all of those pieces of content you're seeing, full workshops, full courses, they're all on NOSTR natively.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so PlebDevs is actually secretly a NOSTR client. Secretly one of the best performing NOSTR clients, in my opinion.
The website is a client, so it's kind of like Primal in a way. I'm saying like in
a
terms
way. Yeah, it's a little bit more limited.
Very interesting.
Exactly. So the goal there was to have it just be such a clean and familiar experience from a user experience standpoint. Like you can go to the top right and you can log in with email, but in the background, all of the contents on Nostr, you can actually click a button and link to the original Nostr notes. So it's all zappable. It's all commentable on Nostr. All payments are done on Lightning. And then even when you create like an email account as just a regular user that doesn't know about Nostr, a Nostr key pair is generated in the background, and kind of all of the events from the platform, they pull in from Nostr and then they output from Nostr. So for example, when you finish the starter course, I have a free starter course for learning how to code, you will get a Nostr badge that shows up on the website, but it also shows up on your profile. And so, this is still a work in progress. There's a lot of still innovations that need to be made, but the goal here is just, to have that web experience that just makes sense to everyone, like Udemy, but then bringing in the best aspects of NOSTR, and at the same time, hopefully tricking regular users into onboarding onto NOSTR. And that's kind of something that can happen along the flow of that. And so it's been pretty fun. But I want to push back on what you said a little bit before, though. It is not too late. And it's not that I'm saying, oh, it's not too late to code. Anyone can learn. But no, it's not too late. Your experience and those thoughts that you have is not a waste. It's not a waste. And anyone at home that maybe has that same experience, maybe you started to learn how to code, maybe you went to college for a little while or something like that, you put it down, it was too hard. Trust me, that was me as well. Before I even discovered Bitcoin, I was already a failed coder because I had tried and failed. It was hardly even trying. But I had this story in my head that like, that's just not really for me. I'm not one of those people. But so I got to push back. And really it's about
I appreciate the pushback
then. Yeah, and it's about what do you want to enable, right? You have this podcast, you have this network. I guarantee you there's probably a dozen brilliant ideas you have for tools that you need, and that might make sense for you to build at some point. And, you know, with AI tools now, it's easier than ever to produce the code. And if you have the knowledge and the experience like you do, spending all this time in Bitcoin and looking at GitHub repos and understanding the terminology, that's really so much of what it's about. And so much of actually what I try and teach new students and is like, let's give you the context and get you in the mind of a developer. And then any problem you have is only a question or a prompt away. And so, you know, definitely not everyone wants to be a dev. That is fair, but you do want to be a little bit dangerous, and
Yes, see, that's
that is open, that's available.
I
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. Good motivation, man. I'm glad we're having this talk today. I
Hey,
can't tell you how many
you
times
know,
I was like, you know what, I should just start learning to code again. I should just start messing around, you know, like, and I always just I just always don't do it, right? Like, and that's it, right? Obviously, you persist in not doing something, it simply won't get done, and you'll never improve. So I've been calling NOSTR the wrong thing. It's actually NOSTR. But I do want to
oh,
express that you totally freaking blew my mind with PlebDevs. I did not. So okay, so look, I've got. I'm probably, if you've ever watched any number of the interviews that I've done, you know that like I have a bad habit of like just being very critical of NOSTR. Not because I think it's terrible or something like that, just because I think that the ratio of noise about it to I guess how it's actually being used or how much it's being used, I find the ratio is like totally off. So I just, it's one of those things that just gets to me, and I'm like, no, there's like too many cheerleaders. But my point is this, right? Like, I have been looking at it way too simple, and what you like, I didn't get it when I logged into Primal and I created an account. Like, it didn't make sense to me, but you just explaining this and you telling me that your site is essentially, it's a NOSTR client, and it's like a wrapper. It's like an HTTP wrapper for NOSTR in a way. And I guess that's the way I'm looking at it. And I'm like, holy crap, I did not, I get to somebody who writes code is like, yeah, you're a fucking idiot, Phil. That's obvious. But to me, it's not obvious. And it just totally blew my mind, so
yeah,
appreciate
no,
that.
I appreciate that. No, thank you. And like I'm right there with you that like I am, you know, I'm very critical
Like,
of NOSTR. See, I say it two different ways as well.
see, now I just don't know. But you actually develop on it, so I figured what you're saying is there that do you see some other devs calling it NOSTR and NOSTR? Does that even matter?
Well,
I feel like NOSTR just sounds better.
it's notes and other stuff. So it's like
I
it
know.
feels like it should be NOSTR, but then when you just like look at that word, it's like it's NOSTR.
It's
So
NOSTR.
it depends on like what I'm saying, but
I'm
you
sorry, I'm
know,
dumbing it down.
it's
Go back to the real stuff. I apologize. You just got to stop me. It's like, Phil, you're making this stupid. I'm going to go back to real points.
no, I love stupid. Yeah, so and
Uh,
I'm right there with you that like I've been very critical, and I think that you know, as much as us at Bitcoin as Bitcoiners, we're pointing out to so many things in the world and we're calling, you know, scam, scam, scam. At the same time, I think that we have scammed ourselves a few times with becoming overly excited and jumping ahead on certain technologies. And I think that Lightning was really like this in the like 2019 and 2020 era. The amount of exuberance around Lightning and some of the ideas and narratives that were floating around and being espoused as like, yeah, this is definitely true, we laugh at them
mm,
now today. And it's not really that people were maliciously trying to trick you, we were just really excited. And I think a lot of that is true for Nostr as well. But at the same time, we want to be critical and we want to be adversarial, and we want to question the narratives that are said about things. And so I've actually really poked at a lot of Nostr narratives and done some very aggressive narrative warfare on Nostr myself. trying to call out these things, but at the same time, it's because I love it. I'm building on it, right? My platform is built
Yes.
on NOSTR.
You
And so, tell me the difference between a contribution and an attack on NOSTR. And, I sit
well,
somewhere in between there.
well, I think to your point, right? Like I think that there's a lot of nuance between complaints and criticism, right? Like you can criticize something, and it's not this. In my eyes, it's not the same thing as complaining. And simply, I guess it's because in my eyes, a criticism has a path to solution, right? Like essentially the act of criticizing is I'm actually trying to work through this mentally. You know what I mean? Whereas the complaint is like a lazy, I'm not willing to do the work. I just, want to bitch about this shit.
Hmm.
So there's no path, I think, to solution. But something I wanted to say before about this, about you showing me the PlebDev site. I'm still mind blown by this. Yeah, this is what happens, man. When you get over 40, like your mind, like you'll get one idea and it'll be like, holy crap, and then I just can't see past it. Um, so like I'm just kind of picturing people like being able to spin up websites where automatically like everything is zappable on the website, like you said, right? Like you can have content that's zappable, like the website itself, right? Like I don't know. I feel as though it's going to sound corny, but it's kind of like enabling the individual economy. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's
Interesting.
extremely validating that you say that, because this is kind of something that's being worked on in the background. So as I was building PlebDevs, the platform, like a little bit of context, before PlebDevs, the platform, I've been on Udemy, the fiat course
Oh
platform,
yeah.
and I have a Discord community, and I have a YouTube channel, and I'm kind of spread across these different fiat platforms. And each one of these platforms, they screw me over in their own unique way, and they have their own unique game for how you grow. And so I'm just being fragmented, right, between these platforms, and then none of them are Bitcoin native. They're not representing my principles as a Bitcoiner. And so that's why I started building the PlebDevs platform. But as I was building it, making these generic this process of generically putting courses on NOSTR, workshops on NOSTR, making them zappable, making them payable, I thought to myself, like, wouldn't other creators want this same exact tool set? So
Yes.
this is what I am building right now with a partner, kind of in the background. As we are improving PlebDevs, such as like our recent UI update, we are working to make it configurable and generic, to where hopefully on the other side of about 6 months now, you will be able to spin up your own plebdevs.com. It won't be called PlebDevs. It'll have a nice
Have
generic
your own name.
name, but yeah, your own instance of, yeah, publishing content, making it zappable, making it available on a nice looking website, but at the same time it shows up in my NOSTR feed, right? So that is what NOSTR gives you, is this advantage of distribution, redundancy, and then that all of that is zappable and kind of interoperable with these other clients. And so, this is kind of, yeah, like I try and see a NOSTR as a, it's a paradigm shift where
Yeah.
before NOSTR, if I needed to have server type function, so like you used to work on networking, like the idea of being a server admin is this idea that you are custodying the infrastructure, the data, all of this sensitive and powerful
Yes.
context that powers the app,
And you're
and
creating the
how
policies.
you're creating the policies, exactly, and you can kick people out and reject people and change the history and all of that. So it's this exorbitant power. And as a Bitcoin developer, I'm always trying to find ways to not be a server admin, right? Because I don't want to be in custody. I don't want to risk doxing a user's privacy if I get hacked or something like that. And so Nostr to me is a paradigm shift that allows me to deliver server kind of functionality and server features without being in
Mm-hmm.
control of the server. So that is that is like the key way to where I think that you can look at NOSTR different than anyone else. And that's where a lot of the other stuff fits in, is because you can have different trust relationships with things that you build, because you don't need to run the server anymore. There's a bunch of servers that are plug and play out there that all work together already. And then the user brings their own identity. So you don't need to have the authentication system where you can boot them out and control them and all of that. So it's a pretty, yeah, it's a real paradigm shift. And we need to protect it. We need to make it win, right?
I really, man, you're like you're genuinely blowing my mind with the framing here for NOSTR. Like, I've spent so much time criticizing it, and it's like I'm listening to this and I'm like, damn, I'm like, these are good points. So let me ask you this though, in terms of in terms of the criticizing. So Pleb Underground obviously has a NOSTR account. I have the Damus app, or Damus, or however, I guess it's just Damus. I have that installed, and I put out as many posts as I can remember to. But I do find, so I've been trying to figure out, like, what is it about these centralized platforms, right? Like X. Why is that so much more appealing to the general public than something like NOSTR? Because I mean, I have both apps installed. The user experience is really not much different, unless you choose to manually configure your relays, like which ones you're connecting to and whatnot. I find that the user experience with these apps is not really different, but yet, like, I don't know. It just seems that, in anyways, at least maybe it's just me and my feed, but it just seems like there's not much going on, like through that particular app. What are your thoughts on that? Let's give some love to the Pleb Underground sponsors. I don't have an actual ad read for this or anything. It just says, T. Selly says, fuck you, Greg. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium. They make absolutely beautiful Bitcoin branded products. They just dropped their first one. It is the solid aluminum Bitcoin clock. I had to get my hands on it so that I could show it to you guys. Take a look. Really, really nice piece. Beautiful craftsmanship. Head on over to archamp.co. The link is going to be in the show notes. That is Archimedes Emporium. Head on over there.
Yeah,
I hate saying it because I feel bad, but that's,
Well, it's there's like there's good things and there's bad things about it. For one, like X is well, it has way more people on it, way bigger network effect. But the biggest thing is algorithms and ads.
So
algorithms and ads and NOSTR not having those four things is working against, very, very difficult issue, because what social media is this experience of the algorithm, and we forget it. It's so persistent. It's so just always in the background that we forget what it does to us, and that's what kind of keeps that dopamine drip going. And
we're accustomed to
NOSTR
slop.
doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Well,
we're accustomed to slop and noise.
Distribution of slop. Yeah.
That's right. A steady distribution of slop.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, no, that's yeah, I can't disagree. And I mean, in all honesty, it just, it kind of speaks to the fact that, hey, we like to be not just entertained, but, like, I guess, mind-numbingly deluded. To a certain extent, right? Because NOSTR is relatively low noise, especially if, in my case, all I'm doing is following fellow Bitcoiners. So I really don't see anything else there,
Yeah, I mean, to play the other side, like there's so many things you can say that's like, this is hard for NOSTR. How is NOSTR going to figure this out? But on the other side, I as much as I like have so many doubts, and I find that I'm the one that has to go talk crap on NOSTR to all these people at conferences and stuff like that. At the same time, I do think it's worth investing in, and look at my actions, not my words. I think of the guy in like 2010 who was like, there was these guys on the cypherpunk mailing list that saw Bitcoin come across their radar, and they looked at the white paper and they read it and they thought about it, and they were like, you know what, this is a cool idea, but Bitcoin won't work because of this legit reason that I can say because like I'm a cryptographer, or this other legit reason that I can say because I'm a distributed systems engineer or whatever, right? So smart people had valid criticisms of Bitcoin in the early days that was kind of like, yeah, that's a good argument. Yeah, you're probably right. Bitcoin won't work out. But the thing is, they kept watching Bitcoin rip in their face and they didn't go back and question that idea. And so I think about that when I look at NOSTR. I'm like, here I am. I have all of these criticisms about it and all of these reasons I think that people are getting carried away with their narratives. But am I going to watch this thing rip in my face and grow and become more powerful and just ignore it and not update my priors? And so I'm still in the place where I think it's worth investing, you know, create a NOSTR identity, protect it, and then invest in it over time, and not just in the social media like very loose use case of that, but there's a lot of other stuff that your account can plug into, you know, like with PlebDevs, course and education material or blogging, and it's going to be branching out even farther from there. Anything that you might do to interact on the internet, NOSTR might come into play, and having a trusted, a known identity will be potentially an extremely valuable thing in the future. So I do think it's worth investing in. I think it's also just kind of the political stance of it, saying that like, I want to hold the keys to my identity. I think it's worth doing. So, because X is never going to be the future that we want it to be. It's just not going to be. We have to build that future. And you may not like NOSTR, but what we have right now is really special, and the amount of attention and developers around it, it's very special. So, you know, I would encourage anyone to like kind of take that second look at it with a little bit more nuance and understanding.
I want to ask you about the two specific things that you were talking about, the advertisers and the algorithms. Now, I mean, I believe that the algorithms come first and then the advertisers come. But I could be wrong about that. Maybe the advertisers show up first, then the algorithms kick in. But let me ask you this. Do you believe that at some point in the future, that, first of all, I guess it's a two-pronged question. Do you think that NOSTR ultimately needs this in order to succeed, right? Those two things. And do you believe that either one of those or both are eventually going to somehow find their way onto that platform? Because it sounds to me like somebody just needs to code it up. Like that's really what it sounds like to me. Somebody needs to code it up, polish it, and then go out and sell it. That is pretty much what it sounds like to me. Mm-hmm. So it's if one person or a group of people decide to take on the initiative, that's pretty much all that's missing, I think. Am I wrong? I don't know.
People are working on it.
Maybe I'm looking at this too simplistically.
No. I mean, it's always, you always start simple, right? And then you dig a little deeper and you dig a little deeper, and then you're in this, you know, 30 comment long GitHub thread. Yeah.
With a purple ostrich.
Yeah. So no, people have been talking about algorithms on NOSTR for years and figuring out how to do it. And when it comes to so I think algorithms and advertisers are inevitable. Are they necessary? Probably. And are they both already here? Basically, yes, they are. They're just not evenly distributed. They're not delivered to the masses. So there's like algorithm relays that are super custom and that people built, you know, hackers. There are algorithm clients that are a little bit smaller that people are experimenting with. And then on the side of advertisers, right? I mean, what even is an advertiser? You could argue that
any one of us.
Maybe NOSTR is only ads. You know, I mean, that's not
could
really
be true,
but it's people injecting their brand content into your feed and trying to get it across to you. And so, you know, there's sort of conflicting forces here at play where kind of algorithm and ads and better experience, these are centralizing forces. And even the apps that we use and love the most, like Primal, these are centralizing forces in order to rein in that experience. But at the same
Yes.
time, to like deliver algorithms and deliver these things in a scalable way to the whole network, that's this open source effort where it's like the relays need to update or the clients need to update. So just like when we talk about when something grows so big, like we try and change Bitcoin, it's really hard. NOSTR is getting that to that point. So if you want to bring a cool feature to NOSTR, you want to do it in a clever, sneaky way to where no one else has to do anything else. You can just build it and it just works and interoperates with what's already out there. So this is a big problem with algorithms and a few other things in NOSTR that users ask, like, why don't we have this yet? Why don't we have this yet? And the answer is usually because it requires too many people to do too many things that they don't want to do.
I like that. And you got me thinking, though, when you made the centralization comment, because human beings we're social creatures, and we tend to group, right? We tend to group, right? You go back and look at history, you've got all the tribes and everything like that. People tend to socialize, people tend to group. That's not abnormal. So the idea of centralization, I mean, I sometimes think that we're fighting our own natural tendency, right? Like, it's like it's tough, right? Is it centralization that is the demon? Like, no, it's not centralization that's the demon. It's the people that what they do with the power that is, I guess, bestowed from centralization, or the inherent power, the result, right?
Mm-hmm.
The resulting power from centralization. So I sometimes battle with this and I'm like, I don't know, centralization, because look, you just said it right there, right? Like, look at Primal, right? Like that is, that is a single platform. It brings together all of these elements in order to create this unified experience that many people, right, tend to enjoy, right? It becomes a shelling point, that in a way, that experience. So
Yeah.
I guess my whole point is, like, are we fighting ourselves by, essentially trying to keep this all like as decentralized as possible? Like, are we just fighting our inherent nature, I guess?
Yeah, we're always fighting ourselves. But no, I love what you said about that. And it reminded me of this quote. I don't remember where I heard it. It's something like, don't look at the person in the seat, look at the seat, which that is to say, it's not about the particular individual that's holding that role. What is the role itself? And I think what's most genius about Bitcoin is that Bitcoin assumes that every actor is evil and wants to screw the other parties over. So it assumes malevolence, and then it built. And this is kind of the game theory, right? It aligns incentives. So it's about what are the incentives, and so you look at Primal, and it's more like, what position are they holding? What controls and power do they have, and then what is their incentive within that? And then the same thing with the dynamics between the clients and the relays and the end users. And so, like, that's always the way I'm trying to look at things. And then as a developer myself that wants to not accidentally screw people over with my technology, I'm looking for ways to have good incentives and to not be in control of your money or your data or this or that, to where if everything goes wrong and blows up, then just like the website's gone and you didn't lose anything, right? Your
Yeah,
funds are in self custody, your
yeah.
identity is protected because it's already on NOSTR, and there's all of these redundancy mechanisms. It's not on me to lose and to screw you over. So I'm always trying to put myself in that position, but obviously to do amazing things and deliver amazing experiences and to change the world, you have to take on accountability. And so all of that to say, I think it's a balance, and no one will ever agree on it. So yes, we're fighting ourselves. This is how we win.
This is how we get ahead, right? We're
Yes.
gonna we're gonna switch gears, but we're still gonna be along the same lines. Let me explain. Let me here we go. Where is it? There we go. That's what I wanted. Okay. So you put this out over here. Me and BTC Tech Support are working on solving one of NOSTR's biggest problems. Okay. So here we go. No password reset. How FROSTR saves or FROSTR saves your NOSTR identity. And this is I started reading through it, and this is pretty cool, right? It was born out of the hackathon, TabConf 2024. That's right, guys. Lots of cool stuff comes out of hackathons. If I'm not mistaken, once upon a time back in 2019, I believe it was, or early 2020, could have been a little bit sooner, but Bottle Pay, for the people who remember that came out of the Boltathon, the first Boltathon, which was held by fellow Bitcoiner eCurrency Hodler. I haven't seen him on Twitter in a while. But anyways, that the whole point is that we're not talking about this. Okay, we're talking about what you're doing over here. So FROSTR just announced alpha releases, and I was looking through this, and it looks like it's some type of an identity solution. That's about as far as I got. So, if you don't mind, for the audience, please explain what you and BTC Tech Support have been working on, and what FROSTR or FROSTR sounds better. What it's all about.
This is why I just keep the dual pronunciation, because
right?
It's like it's NOSTR because it's notes, but then it's like I'm not gonna say FROSTR. Like it's gotta be FROSTR.
I felt weird.
So
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so very simply, FROSTR is a project whose goal is to solve one of the biggest problems in NOSTR. What is that? And that biggest problem is that we are still on single sig, single private key, single point of failure on NOSTR. So when you created your NOSTR account, it's not an account. It's actually a public-private key pair that uses the same cryptography as Bitcoin, which is really cool. And yeah, so when you created that, this app generated it on your phone, and maybe it's still in your phone to this day, this one private key. And if you've built up, some kind of network effect or value around your identity, that's getting a little bit more valuable, right? And if I steal your NOSTR private key in a second, I can go on your NOSTR and just start posting about all these shitcoins, buy my shitcoin, buy my NFTs, right? And you'll have no way, unless you have like very powerful networked friends also on NOSTR, like you'll have no way of saying like, no, this isn't me, I got hacked, right? So this is just one of the biggest. How are we supposed to invest in our identities if they're so vulnerable and there's a single point of failure? And then how are companies, how are groups of individuals supposed to be able to run NOSTR accounts without something like multisig for NOSTR? And so this is what FROSTR is. It's trying to bring a simple multisig solution for the everyday user into NOSTR, and it uses a cryptography protocol called FROST, or many aspects of it. And FROST is still actually being developed on Bitcoin, really, or FROST solutions are still being developed on Bitcoin. But my genius office mate here at PlebLab, Topher, BTC Tech Support, he goes by many names. He's been writing these cryptography libraries for his own solutions, and he had the insight before we did the hackathon that he was basically like, Austin, what if I told you could take your single NOSTR private key and you could split it up into 2 or 3 multisig and still sign for the same pub key? You wouldn't have to make a new key pair. And if you ever lost one of those keys in the 2 of 3, you could rotate it and make a new 2 of 3 that's still signed for your same pub key. And he just blew my mind. I was like,
yeah,
what? How can this be
how
possible?
Can you do that?
Yeah. And so that is possible. The code is written, and beyond that, you can go, if you scroll back a little bit in my X feed, you'll find my latest demo video where I walk you through right in my screen. I take my INSEC, my actual INSEC, Bitcoin PlebDev, and I split it into a new 2 of 3 right in front of you, and I sign a note right in front of you. And so this is what FROSTR is building. And what does this come down to? What does this really mean? Right now, we have a desktop app, which is the place where you can bring in your insects, split it up, and it also acts as one signer. We then have a Chrome extension that allows you to bring one of those keys into it, and it also acts as a signer. And so the minimal simple setup right now is you run the desktop app, you run the extension, and they communicate with each other over NOSTR DMs to do partial signatures and then sign your note. And it happens nearly instantly, happens in less than a second. And so this is a very simple approach, but what we're working on is more and more clients. So a solution for your phone, a solution for the server, a solution for your Umbrel. All of these things will be coming so that you can make, you know, a 2 of 3, a 3 of 5, whatever you need, and that you can have these always online signers across multiple devices that are just kind of at a whim. You can pull them up and then have your keys be distributed and never have a single point of failure. So yeah, there's a lot of technical details in it, but very simply, like, that's a solution we're going after. Is just, we don't want to make it more difficult for you to, you know, just go shit post. We want to keep it easy, but to be able to have like 1 or 2 more seconds of extra friction, but 10x better security. This is what we have right now with FROSTR,
that could be worth
so it's a good
it.
trade-off.
And I'm very curious, what has been what's been the feedback? Has anybody, you know, like, besides a handful of people, tested it, or, you know, what's the feeling so far? Like, how long has this been solution? We'll start with that. How long has this solution been available to the general public? I only learned about it because of your post, which was, I think it was last week or earlier this week. Sorry, Bitcoin time screws me up. I have no idea what day or month. It doesn't matter. Sorry.
Yeah, it's very new. It's very new. So,
okay,
you know, proceed with utmost caution. I mean, obviously, my skin is in the game.
yeah,
my insect is using this solution, so, you know, look at my actions, not my words. But yeah, it's very new, and really, we're still explaining this. We've been sharing updates and trying to get as many eyes in the NOSTR world to look at it. I think a lot of people have been skeptical and kind of needed a second pass to come look at it. And then we've just been having these ridiculously technical discussions with certain people on NOSTR, like Vitor from Amethyst and stuff like that, as he's like really interested in it, but he's like, wait, these are big ideas. How are you actually doing this? And so, you know, it's pretty difficult. It takes a lot of due diligence because this is cutting edge cryptography. And then at the same time, we're doing this multi-sig protocol over NOSTR. And so kind of a little bit of a cool insight of how this is working. You know, when you take your insect and you split it into a 2 of 3, those 3 keys are actually NOSTR identities themselves. And they DM each other in order to create full signatures. And so you're using NOSTR to sign your NOSTR note to post to NOSTR. So it's kind of a new idea, and there's certain ideas in it that are, I don't know, maybe take a few tries to understand, but we're trying to make it simple. We're trying to make it low effort. There's no NIP. If you know what a NIP is a
the
NOSTR
NIP
improvement
05
proposal. Yeah, exactly. So there's no spec change needed for FROSTR. We're not telling the NOSTR world, come implement our spec. Really what we're saying is, whenever you do signatures, you can just slip FROSTR right into that flow, right? So a FROSTR key, one of those 2 of 3, it looks just like a regular key to any NOSTR signer. And then when you produce that signature with your 2 of 3, it looks just like a single signature. So the NOSTR network is unaware, the relays are unaware, the clients are basically unaware. Everyone is unaware that you're doing this multi-sig because it's outside of the purview of the network, effectively, or the network is blinded to it. It just gets a valid signature on the other end. So, yeah.
Okay, that's what I lost my question there for a second. So, but I got it back. You guys, have you guys hosted a space about this yet on X? Because I feel like because I just, number one, without you putting out that post, I would have never known. So that tells me right away there's not enough attention. I genuinely feel like you guys, you might want to host a space about this, and I'll join. I'll definitely join and help out if you want, because I think it's, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that people want to know about, like this, believe it or not, like this is the kind of thing that in my eyes anyways, that makes the use of NOSTR or NOSTR a little bit more, I'm like, okay, this is a little bit more, not just secure, but I guess resilient, so to speak.
Mature.
Right? Yeah, exactly. It has more of that feel when you bring something like this into it,
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, we need PR help, I'm probably better than most at, like, I'm a rare developer that I like to talk, I like to communicate with people. But but even then, like, I'm not really a social media manager. Like, I do my best. I try and get, the signal out, but it's always a struggle. So like we really need, like, we want the eyes and the criticism and the feedback of as many people as we can get right now. And so absolutely, like, we want that, any of those kinds of opportunities to talk about it or take questions. We have done an X Spaces that got turned into a podcast with Juan Galt from Bitcoin Magazine.
Oh yeah,
and he's the one that wrote the article. He did a very good job. He was like, we must have nerd sniped him really well because he's very interested in it now.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I mean, so far, if you're interested in FROSTR, you're an early adopter. So, we need your help. You can be a part of it. You can be a first contributor, even just on the README, right? If you want to set up and replicate my demo from the demo video, maybe you find like, hey, you could better explain this on the README like this. Boom, there you go. Good idea for your first open source contribution. So, it's early days.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, I mean, not gonna lie, man. I'm definitely motivated. I think I might hit you up after the show, and we'll continue. We'll continue talking about it, because I have the time. I have the time now. When it comes to being able to do this stuff, and it's like, why not? Like, this is. I find it super interesting. I don't know enough about it, right? So right away, there's the, it's the new neurons. It's like the new brain, the new gray matter that's going to form. So yeah, I'm excited about it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this, and like anyone else, things are still small. Things are still early for me, for PlebDevs, for FROSTR, and like, I want to help you out if you're trying to learn how to code, or just whatever you're trying to achieve in the space. Like, I interact with people. I won't always be able to do that, and so like definitely hit me up. And even if you want to take those first steps, like, you can go to plebdevs.com and you'll see this learn how to code button. If you click that button, a anonymous account will be created for you, and you'll be dropped right into my free starter course, which not only teaches you how to write your first line of code, but teaches you how to set up the code editor, teaches you how to set up Git and GitHub, these kind of basic things that people skimp over. So I'm really trying to make it easy, but I need feedback, right? I need these people with newer experience to be like, Austin, this is totally confusing, or hey, I'm stuck on this, because it motivates me. If I can help you with your problem that you're stuck on, then that just makes me feel better, with my problems I'm stuck on. So I don't know, something like that.
I might just do it. I really might just do it. That's fantastic, because yeah, like I said, I mean, my experience, I have forked other people's code on GitHub. I forked BTC Socialist. I don't know if Ben Ark, he does a lot of or a lot of like the Lightning stuff, LNURL stuff like that. Yeah, he was the one that made the first what's it called, like a Bitcoin price tracker with an ESP32 controller. So like, I forked that code. I edited that code to work with a different type of M5 controller. So like I said, I'm not terrible.
I couldn't do that.
I couldn't do that.
Well, I mean, maybe I could. I've never tried it. But
you trust me. I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out way faster than I could. I promise you that. I promise you that. But I appreciate the I appreciate the kind words. But yeah, man, you got me all excited and I'm motivated. So guys, yeah, we're gonna wrap up the show. But before we do, I just want to let people know all of the links that Austin is talking about. We are going to put them in the show notes. And Austin, what is the best way for listeners and viewers alike to get in touch with you and bug you and take up your time and ask you questions?
Yes. So I'm Bitcoin PlebDev everywhere online. Just no spaces, no fancy characters, Bitcoin PlebDev, and then PlebDevs is everything else you'll find. Wherever you are, Stacker News, X, NOSTR, reach out to me on there. And yeah, I mean, I want to help you succeed. I want to help Bitcoin succeed, and we need more builders. The space is small, the opportunity is huge, and there's people like me that want to help you make that journey. So like, just don't forget that there's people out there that want you to win and that also really empathize with you on that journey. So yeah. Bullish.
Dude, I love it, man. I love it. I really appreciate it. That was yeah, absolutely awesome. Guys, all of that's going to be in the show notes. Don't forget to also check us out on our audio only platforms, right? Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you so decide to support the show, check us out on fountain.fm. You can stream us sats there. That's going to do it for this episode of Pleb Underground. Again, Austin, thank you so much for joining me on the show, man. It's been absolutely great.
Yeah, thank you, Phil.
More toxic than the most toxic Bitcoin maxi.